and data science. We are going to be talking about women in data science driving different industries in the African context. And our first speaker is Simisani Ndaba. Simisani, please take it up.
Thank you, Dr. Zidana. I'm just going to share my screen now. And please let me know if you can see it. It's still loading. Can we all see the screen?
Yes, can see it.
Okay, thank you for having me. Good morning, good day, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the International Day of Women in Statistics and Data Science. I'm happy to say that this is my second presentation. I was here last year, and thank you for having me back again. And I'm Simisani Ndaba. I'm honored to join you for today. I'll be talking about how African women in data science in the R community through the R Ladies Curation program are using the digital platform, which is the R Ladies Curation program, as a way to amplify the communities and to build visibility and shape global conversation. First of all, we'll be talking about who We Are Ladies, what We Are Ladies, our ROCO program is about, coming from the R Ladies International Organization, how it works and how it started and where it is now, the ROCO program and how it amplifies data science in Africa and women who are African, women who are Africans who use the R program language, particularly in the carpentries. And we'll also be hearing from veteran people who have presented before and now, like recently this year, who are from Africa. A little bit about me. I'm a teaching assistant at the Department of Computer Science at the University of Botswana. I'm also a data science research assistant in another faculty in my same university. I'm also studying for a PhD in computer information systems at another university in my country. I'm an occasional blogger and I like creating data visualizations from files and CSV files from data. And I'll be drawing my experiences from an R Ladies chapter founder and organizer, as well as the R Ladies Global ROCO administrator. You can find me on social media, particularly in LinkedIn. You can just type my name, Simisani Ndaba. Starting with the R Ladies Global Initiative. It was first founded by a lady named Gabriela de Queiroz in 2012. She first started it in San Francisco, and during her time attending UseR conferences in America, she met with other data science practitioners who wanted the same kind of concept in other towns, particularly in the US. Then after that, they decided to make it international. It first grew in Taipei, then in London, and now it's all over the world. With it being all over the world, it has over 200 chapters, particularly in Nairobi, in Kenya, Abuja, in Nigeria, Cape Verde, Tunis, in Tunisia, Accra in Ghana, Cape Town, Johannesburg in South Africa, as well as Gaborone in Botswana. It's all grown from strength to strength, and the aim of the initiative is to try and create an inclusion space for people who belong or who identify as belonging into a gender minority or feel like they don't have place to share their experiences in data science. They also provide infrastructure, and they also support one another by giving talks and having meetups, and we learn to share from the community. The We Are Ladies ROCO program started in 2012, was it 2019? It was meant as a social media initiative or social media handle, which features an R lady, particularly a lady who works with R programming language, for her to share experiences, share resources, as well as share whatever she has read online, so that people can see and also learn from sort of like a tutorial place its main aim is to encourage and maintain social engagement within the R community, particularly ladies who are in data science all over the world. And it also spotlights on great work done by the community members. Before, it was growing strength to strength on Twitter. Until Twitter changed its environment, it had to move to Blue Sky. So the difference between Blue Sky and Twitter is that in Twitter is owned by the X Corporation. It's privately owned. So that means it's a centrally controlled platform. Whereas in Blue Sky, it uses what we call an open federated protocol using an AT protocol, as in the users and creators and communities create their own servers, and they have more control of their content. And that actually aligns with the R Ladies global initiative to be open, to be transparent, and to also share whatever they've learned. To also share whatever they've learned in the community, in the social media space. So how it works is that within the Roku program, before you can actually take control of the account for a week, you have to see the schedule. The schedule has a week of somebody who is planned to present. As you can see in the dates, there's a start date and an end date. And after you've seen the date that is available, then you can go ahead and sign up for the curation program with your email and your name, where you're located in the world. And after you've signed up, a Roku administrator will contact you to use the Blue Sky account, and with all the new features that Blue Sky has offered, which is a little bit different from Twitter. The way the Roku program has amplified spaces, especially in the African carpentries. The carpentries is actually a global network that teaches coding and data science skills. So what it has done is that it amplified voices, as in the African instructors, the learners, the initiators, which actually helps promote underrepresented mainstream narratives. And this is a good thing, because this actually helps with promoting workshops within Africa, because they have them online and in person, and from workshop organizers to open science advocates. Njoki and I, who are both R Ladies members, actually presented our works during the carpentries in June, and they actually saw how the Roku program actually aligns with our African carpentries. So hearing from recent and past African curators, I actually started the curation when it relaunched in the Blue Sky account, and I wrote all about the blog, and I wrote it all about it in a blog of mine. And during my curation, I thought this was a perfect time to also show what I know, what I learned from the carpentries, which actually shows that it aligns with the Our Ladies initiative. I talked about the recursion functions particularly used in R. So recursion functions are functions that call themselves in complex and short programs, as well as a data science pipeline workflow. And it actually shows the videos of how I created the tutorials and the pipeline, which shows of data visualization of a pipeline. Another R lady who's from Africa is Njoki, who is from R Ladies Nairobi. She's a founder and an organizer from there. Her time of curation was the middle of the year. She not only talked about the Tidy Log, which is an R package, which focuses on enhancing vlogs and feedback for operations, logs of the programs that you've done. But she also touched and talked about the LGBTQIA community who are in the data science community, particularly in Africa, and which also shows the intersectionality of women, particularly in Africa, who identify as being African, who are an underrepresented group. And it also showcases that there is a community like that and who are in data science. Another previous curator who's also from Our Ladies Nairobi is Mang Mang Wanjiru. I think that was her old Twitter account. It's she curated when it was still in Twitter, and the tweet that she posted actually was the most tweeted and the most popular at the time, because at the time it was the praise package, which no one really knew about, and because of her tweet it became the most tweeted and the most viral tweet at the time. And her work was also, her tweet was featured in Catherine Simone's art studio, which is now Posit Conference. So because of her contribution, everyone started using it, and it was because of her tweet, it was the most used R package at the time in 2019 in Twitter before it moved on to the Blue Sky account. So in summary, I wanted to talk about how Our Ladies not only does it create, or not only does it shine the spotlight on people who are in Africa who use our programming, but also creates visibility of people who may not be seen in the social media sites, but when they are used in the ROCO program, they can be identified and be called in talks. They can be mentees, and they can also encouraged to take on a project of their own, which they can distribute to the world. There's also collaboration that happens when they're seen, like as we saw Man Wanjiru, she was seen with her tweet, and because of that, our package was used, and that helped her to move on to, I think, a working space in the UK where Njoki, the founder of Our Ladies Nairobi, is in. And not only is the Roka a social media campaign, it's also a way, it's a distributed mentorship ecosystem. As Mangi Wanjuri and Njoki went on to work in the UK, it opened doors for other members in their chapter to work on and also continue their work in data science. I hope that wasn't too long. I tried to make it as short as possible for time's sake. And thank you for listening, and I hope you'll be able to also sign up for the ROCO program, which is ongoing every single month. Thank you.
Thank you, Simi. Thank you for the presentation and how African women are being part of the data science community through the Arab Ladies program. If you have any questions, I'll just ask you to write them in the Q&A session, and Simi will be glad to answer them as they come. Our next presenter is Pento Manjele. Pendo is from Zambia, which is one other country in Africa, and she's doing work with Ubuntu AI. And I'll hand it over to Pento. Pento, please take it over.
Thank you for that introduction. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Pento.
Thank you. I will just share my screen. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to be part of the Women in Data 2025. As introduced, my name is Pendo Manjele, and I am a data scientist working in Zambia, particularly in the financial services sector. I'm also the co-founder of Ubuntu AI Community, which is a grassroots initiative rooted in inclusivity with an ultimate goal of advancing data-driven technologies such as AI, data science, and other technologies that are data-driven here in Zambia. So today I'm going to speak about the state of women's participation in data-driven technologies, and this I'll ultimately speak to some of the insights that we drew from the State of Artificial Intelligence survey that we conducted as Ubuntu AI community in collaboration with ZICTA, which is the ICT regulator here in Zambia, and Bongo Hive, which is one of the leading innovation hubs in Zambia. So our ultimate goal was to assess what's the state of artificial intelligence in Zambia across various verticals, and one which was key was how's the female participation? Are we looking at, are we having more gender inclusion? Are we having good diversity ratios, or are we still lagging behind as in the previous technological revolution? And what we uncovered were very interesting insights. And just to give perhaps a clear overview of our participants, we had about 763 participants, with 90% of these participants being individuals and 10% representing organizations. And when we looked at the individual participants, as you can see, we had 79%, which is about 543 being male, and 2%, which is 134 being female. So this already gave us a very interesting gender-specific trend in that prior to this survey, we looked at how can we ensure that we can have maximum reach in terms of both male and female, and we shared the survey widely in female groups such as the Women in Technology Network, and asked women to reshare, as we believe that women have women who are in their networks. And if you're a professional woman, probably you have network of similar professional women. And so we were very intentional about ensuring that we have more women or female participants. However, we still saw a very low response rate from the women, and we looked at it as a very persistent gender challenge that needs to be addressed. We also further looked at it from an age group. So we questioned, is it in line? Do we have similar trends across all age groups, or is it just across some age groups where we're seeing more participation? But as you can see here, the gender gap was consistent across all age groups. And this still gives us, I think this still gives us an insight of we still have, even amongst the younger ones, because we're saying perhaps the younger ones, the younger generation, we might see more inclusivity in the space of artificial intelligence and data-driven technologies. However, as you can see from the numbers here, we're still seeing a wide gap when we look at it from the male to female ratio, or even the 18 to 24-year-olds. We still had a similar ratio. So we're looking at it from, is it that women are not in the space or actively pursuing such related, we have very few women who are pursuing data-driven programs or professionally and also from a student level, or is it just that women are not interested in participating? So these are some of the questions that we are yet to answer. However, the survey did give us some quantitative information that we are still uncovering to get more insight on the why. As we were probing, these statistics, I think as initially mentioned, are really pointing to a symptom that we can't ignore, as women participation in the tech domain has been low, and we're seeing similar trends even in the age of artificial intelligence. So I further zoomed in to look at it from a global perspective. Is it just Zambia where we're seeing very low participation, both across professionals, mid-level, or even at the leadership level? And what we found is that gender representation in the global AI workforce is 30% of women, and the rest are men. And this is a report according to UNESCO of January 2025. So we're already seeing that 1 in 3 of the AI workforce is women, which is quite. Here we can still see that the gap is quite wide, and the statistics from a Zambian perspective and a global perspective are not far from each other. So we have a global challenge that we need to address collectively. I think why it's important to ensure that we have diversity is that already we're seeing persistent gender stereotypes in AI. For example, in large language models, apparently women are 4 times more likely than men to be associated with with domestic roles, according to a UNESCO 2025 report again. So we can see that AI is perpetuating similar biases because we have very few women who are working either as developers, regulators, or testers of these AI systems. And this disparity might cause a significant um, discrimination as we are adopting AI widely in decision making, such as who gets the job, the kind of health diagnosis we receive, and also in other critical decisions such as education, who gets admitted into schools. But if we don't have diversity of testers, if we don't have diversity of developers, that means we have skewed artificial intelligence systems, which we already do have. So I think we have an urgent call to ensure that we drive more inclusion, especially from an African perspective, where already we have seen some of the computer facial recognition systems not identifying Black women, and also Black women being discriminated in certain in job setups. So my initial thought was, how can we change this? Then I drill down further to say, what can I do about it? I think it's a collective effort. How can we drive more inclusion? How can we make AI more accessible? How can we invite more women to the table, encouraging the younger generation, the one that are coming before us, and also ensuring that we support one another as a minority in this group to make it more accessible and easier for women to pursue such roles. So from my side, I would say mentorship. I think it's important to be mentors for the next generation of women, even those who are below us within our organization. How can we support them? How can we lift each other up to ensure that we do not see women either dropping out or not being interested in the field? So I have been a mentor for the Women in Technology Network, and specifically focusing on women who are looking at transitioning into data science. The second thing is grassroots community. I have been a very firm believer that community, I think from an African perspective especially, and even global perspective, I think there's power in community. In Africa, Ubuntu is a very common adage saying, because I am because we are. So we can go further together. Like to get alone, we can only go so far, but together we can go even further. So how can we, in an environment where we have constrained resources, how can we collaborate, share knowledge, share resources such as compute power, learning resources as well, and also share notes, what's working in other ecosystems and what's working in our ecosystems, and how can we synergize to make it work for us as a broader ecosystem in Africa. So through the Ubuntu AI community, which is a grassroots initiative that I mentioned is rooted in inclusivity with the goal of advancing data-driven technologies in Zambia, we've been able to drive conversations around AI, and I think also having myself as a female co-founder has made it more safe and accessible for even other women to join, and we're seeing the community grow day by day. And I think our ultimate goal is to ensure that we create a safe space for both men and women to collaborate and coexist in the age of artificial intelligence. The third aspect I'll speak to is advocacy. We need to continue speaking about the value of having diverse teams in our spheres of influence. We need to continue speaking about it, sharing this information, and ensuring that we speak up and not be silent about it. So in my personal capacity, I did deliver a TED Talk, a TEDx Talk Lusaka, addressing whether AI will help break the gender barriers or build bigger ones. In this conversation, I was just addressing the fact that we have fewer women, and while AI can be used for good, if we do not have active participation and if we do not build artificial intelligence within our context, not only as African, but also as women, we might see AI building even bigger barriers for us as women. And finally, I think we also need to be role models. We need to role model for the next generation of women. I did show in the first statistic that even amongst the younger generation, we are not seeing the gender gap narrow up. So I think it's important that we continue encouraging and finding spaces where we can mentor young girls and be positive role models. In my capacity, I have had conversations with the younger girls through schools, and also recently featured in a Sky Girls magazine, which ultimately highlights some of the women who are driving change within their space professionally, to encourage the next generation of women to emulate or aspire to join certain career fields. So I just recently have just highlighted some of the feedback that I received, which just shows that emulating and also being out there does encourage the girls to actually come into the field. I received this feedback from the girls saying they first came across my story in the Sky Girls magazine and were inspired to pivot from computer science to data science. And another one saying they were inspired to get into data science with a background in mathematics and have been looking at the direction for themselves. So I think up to those four things, we all have a role to play in society. I think the change that we want to see positively starts with us individually. And I will end with a quote that we always used at my place growing up, saying charity begins at home. I think we all have the power to influence, to drive influence within our spheres of influence. So you don't have to be a CEO or a president or a big leader to drive influence and drive the change that we want to see. We do have organizations where we work in. We do have communities that we're a part of. So in a little way, in a small way, we can make a difference. We can drive that positive change. And encourage girls to join the data space, because if we can do it, I believe even the next generation of girls and women can be part of this journey and make the difference. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pento. We still have a minute or so. If you have a question, you can type it in the Q&A, and Pento will be willing to answer the questions. But maybe while we wait for any Q&A, I want to check with you, Pento, that what challenges would you say you have met when your capacity as an individual to mentor girls? What would you say was the main challenge for mentoring girls that you find as you were making your efforts?
Thank you. I hope I got the question right. The question was, what challenge have I experienced when mentoring girls? Okay, I think the main challenge that has been there in the space when it comes to mentoring is the losing interest as they progress. So they would have, I think the younger girls would have interest, you'd mentor them, they get interested in getting in the field, but then once, and I would say I think the data space is very diverse, and we always look at it from the machine learning mathematics side, but there's ethics, there's different ways in which girls can contribute, but then they look at it from starting from the hard side, which is machine learning, and once they experience a blocker there, they feel like they can't do it and need to resolve for a different field. And then second as well is that it's a new space and field, especially here in Zambia. There's still growing need from organizations' perspectives. So I think another area has been they don't feel supported in their places of work when they get into the space and end up doing work that's not data related. So I think there's a need also for organizations to start supporting these young professionals as they get into the space, and give them real data work as opposed to moving them. They get into data science, but move them to non-data science roles, and in the process, they're channeled away from the actual work that they were meant to do.
All right, thank you. Our next speaker is a discussion. We are going to discuss some of the challenges in the environment under which African women in statistics and data science experience and they pass through, and probably how, as someone who has experience in various roles and data science, is managed to come over those things. So Musa will be joining me to talk about some of those things that as African women in statistics and data science experience, and the kind of environment that we work under, and how from her experience she has managed to maneuver through those. So Musa, women in data science, Pendo has highlighted some of the things that they are underrepresented, 20% for Zambia, but this is true in general for the whole African continent. And given the difficult challenges that comes due to culture, economic hardships, and mainly also lack of mentorship, like Pendo highlighted, and given the fact that you have worked in different countries as a data scientist, and also in under different portfolios, under different industries, how can you describe the African environment for women in data science and statistics in general?
A very good afternoon to you, a very good morning, and thank you so much for having invited IDWSDS to be a part of this conference. I think as alluded to by Pento and Chipo, yes, as data science professionals, especially women, we face a lot of challenges, and I'll just highlight the few challenges that I've faced and how I've overcome. So in my experience, the African environment, it presents both opportunities and challenges for women in data science. And we've got a statistic, according to UNESCO Institute for Statistics, that women make up only 30% of world researchers. So it is a challenge, but it's also an opportunity in a different way. And then a study that was done by the African Development Bank found that women in STEM fields in Africa face significant challenges, including, but not limited to, access to education and career opportunities as well. So there is a growing recognition of the importance of data-driven decisions and increasing demand for data science talent. So this means that this is presenting an opportunity for women to make a meaningful impact and advance their careers. However, on the other hand, as women, we have cultural and societal expectations, and these sometimes limit women's access to education and career opportunities in STEM fields. And sometimes also in terms of economic hardships, you'll find that the girl child is very intelligent in STEM subjects, but maybe their family is not that well up. So for them, they would prefer to educate the boy child. Despite all these challenges, though, there are a lot of women that I've come across in Africa that are doing so well in the data space. For example, we had Pento, we had Simisai, we've got Chipo, just to name a few. So in my experience, one of the major challenges that women face is the lack of mentors and role models in this field. So I think mentorship programs, especially for the girl child, I can safely say that in Zimbabwe, we've really been trying. We've got the AWDS. We've tried to have conferences to assist, especially upcoming. And then we also have the Zimbabwe Women in Mathematics. We literally had a mentorship session. Come out there and network in whatever events that we have. So yeah, but then overall, I believe that the African environment presents many opportunities for women. So I think we need to get more women to come through. We need to mentor them, and we need to support them as much as we can.
Made you to thrive and be successful as a data scientist under these very same challenging and circumstances that you have described, lack of mentorship, environment that are discouraging. What would you say was the main thing that would make you such successful?
So I think from my end, it's obviously it has to start with you as an individual. You need to be able to learn to push yourself and see how much drive you have in yourself. So for me, it was mostly curiosity and passion for learning. So I've always been driven by curiosity about how things work and a passion for learning new concepts and techniques. And then my strong background as well in maths and statistics, which is my first undergraduate degree, it provided a solid foundation for my work in data science. And then also working on practical real life and hands-on projects as well. So you'll come across people who say, but I don't have access to the data and stuff like that. There are a lot of data sources that are free that people can use. So I think it's more of practice than anything. Then also collaboration and communication. We need to be able to collaborate and communicate with the senior guys in the space, the senior women in the space. Get on LinkedIn, look up all the senior women that you can find who've walked this path before, and then see how they can help and mentor you. Then obviously, you need to be resilient in whatever you're doing. You need to know that this field is evolving, and it's essential for you to be resilient and adaptable. And then obviously for me, I had a lot of support from my parents. I had a lot of support from my lecturers, my work colleagues, my support system, and the executives in the organizations that I've worked in. So I think that has helped me.
So you mentioned the support from executives, and you have worked in the telecommunications, the banking system. From your opinion, which sector would you think was probably the most encouraging in terms of mentorship or encouraging you to be who you are?
I think it was mostly mobile money and mining. Yes, so it was mostly mobile money. I think for the financial services sector, if you look at that sector, most people understand the use and importance of data, unlike other industries. So I think for me, it's mobile money and telecommunications that really propelled me to be who I am.
Great. And would you think that in terms of support and mentorship programs in statistics and data science, is the organizations or individuals who should play a more important role in terms of the support that is needed to propel efforts in data science, statistics, and what exactly would you think these organizations or individuals need to do for us to reach that level?
So I think it's both organizations and individuals that have a role to play, if the truth be told. Obviously, for organizations, they need to be able to create a supportive work environment. STEM has always been male-dominated. So I feel as organizations, they should make it, they should make a conscious decision, so to speak, for them to be able to have a 50-50% in the workplace. I know a lot of organizations have been trying to do that, where you find mostly it's 20% maybe in the executive or in the STEM field, and then maybe 80% is males. So there are a lot of organizations who are literally trying to bridge that gap. So organizations have to foster that culture. And then obviously organizations have to try and provide training and development opportunities. If they can't do it in their own countries, they need to be able to support women in STEM that want to travel to other countries or even watch webinars and conferences online. And then organizations also need to create mentorship programs that help. I remember in the mobile money sector that I mentioned, we had a lot of attaches that came through from National University of Science and Technology. And I used to literally conduct mentorship sessions with these girls. Even my boss, who was a CEO then, also used to conduct the mentorship sessions. And then we also need to address the barriers, the bias and the stereotypes that are there in most organizations. Like I said, most of these are male-dominated, so decisions have to be made at an executive level, and these are conscious decisions that have to be made by the males in the executive, in the C-suite roles, to make sure that they support women in STEM. As individuals, we need to be able to seek out opportunities. You can't just sit back and say, I'm waiting for so and so to help me. You need to also have the drive within you to seek out opportunities. You also need to be able to build a professional network. We've got LinkedIn, we've got so many organizations that are helping African women in data science. So you need to make that conscious decision as yourself as well. And then for us, the experienced ones, we need to be able to mentor the young and the upcoming girls as well, for them to realize that if I could do it, then obviously they can. They also have what it takes in them to be able to do it. And then individuals can also pursue leadership opportunities and take roles that allow them to make a positive and a massive impact to others. Then above all, there has to be collaboration, partnerships, organizations and individuals should partner. There need to be community engagement and knowledge sharing.
Right. From the few that you have mentored, the few individual maybe that you have mentored, what would be your maybe takeaway from a best environment that can enable mentorship?
So I think for me, the environment that you create and the rapport that you create between the mentee and the mentor is very important. As a mentor, you need to be able to put yourself in the mentee's shoes as well. You need to be able to build the confidence levels because most of them seem not to be confident. You need to help them build the confidence levels. You need to literally hold their hand. Then as a mentee as well, you can't just sit back and wait for the mentor to look for you, So as the mentee, you need to also be able to push the mentor. If you've got set times and diaries that we're supposed to be meeting at this particular point in time, ensure that you're there, read ahead, ask as many difficult questions as you can. That also keeps the mentor in check as well and on their toes. So you need to create a conducive environment for both the mentor and the mentee.
Oh, thank you. And maybe one last one. I'd want to know what would you think, from your experience, are the major challenges, maybe one or two major challenges that African women in data science are facing on a day-to-day, and what do you think we can do about those major challenges?
I think it's mostly the fact that we have a lot of males who are in these executive roles who believe that women can't do it, or who believe that women don't belong in the boardroom, so to speak. So I think as women, we need to come out there. We need to be bold. We need to come out there, let them know that as women, we can also do it, Also, you need to be able to put yourself in a position where you have results to speak for what you believe in, because you can't just be saying women can do it. What's there to show for it? You've got a project or you think of something that you think can help the organization. Put yourself out there, so that they know that, yes, we have a few women that are there in STEM. And yes, they are literally bringing changes to the organizations. So we need to be able to put ourselves out there as well.
Thank you so much, Musa. It was an interesting talk. I'll just pose one more question to Pento. She talked about mentorship, and I'm so much interested in mentorship. Pento, can you just pick one example where you think the cohort that you mentored had what it takes? Like, what were you looking at, and what were the characteristics that you enjoyed from the mentees that you were mentoring, that you say, if mentees have got some of these things, then it's easier for the mentor to mentor, so that maybe as people are mentoring, they can also try to kind of instill some of those few characteristics into those mentees.